Hey everybody, it's Erin and welcome back to Style Sew Me. Today I'm going to talk to you about beginner sewing tools. Now, there are a lot of beginner sewing kits, but sometimes the quality of those tools are a little subpar, so I would actually recommend to you that you buy these items individually. It doesn't cost you a lot of money. Joann's Fabric Stores runs coupons and sales all the time, so you can usually catch these items anywhere from 40 to 60% off. And even when they're not on sale, they always have coupons, so make sure to download their app. Alright, obviously the first thing that you need is a sewing machine. I have a Baby Lock Elizabeth machine, but my very first machine is the Brother CS6000i, and you can find that machine pretty much anywhere. I got mine off of Amazon. But getting a starter sewing machine, and don't be discouraged by starter. Don't think that it won't grow with you, because these machines absolutely will. Unless you need some type of feature for embroidery or some kind of designer stitching, these machines will last you for years and they will grow with your skill. Sewing machines tend to come with a little kit itself where you have a little screwdriver, some bobbins, some needles, and little brushes to keep the machine clean. In addition to that, you're going to need a few more supplies. First, we're going to talk about pattern weights. These are used to hold the pattern in place when you are laying out a tissue or paper pattern onto your fabric. They have these pattern weights on, Sewing Notion sites, and they can be kind of expensive, but I was turned on to simple washers that you can find at your local hardware store. These were just a few cents a piece, and I have different sizes. This is like a medium, this is a larger one, and I also have a smaller one as well. I like to get different sizes because sometimes when you're working with patterns with a lot of nooks and crannies, sometimes you need the smaller weight. But of course it's not as heavy, so then I would go with the larger sizes to get those straight edges and get them to lie down. Now, some people like to pin their pattern pieces to their fabric. I personally don't. I think it's a little easier for me to maneuver, especially when lining up grain lines, which we'll talk about in another video. So I definitely recommend using pattern weights. Next up are bobbins. Your sewing machine will come with a few bobbins, but it's very easy to have all of your bobbins occupied. You have some thread that's white, black, red, blue, and then you're out of bobbins. And when it's time for you to sew something that's green, you have a choice to make where you're going to dump all of this thread off of this bobbin or just buy another one. I bought a pack of like 15 bobbins for, it might have been like $5 off of eBay. So I definitely recommend you get this. It's optional, but I do recommend that you get some extra bobbins. This next tool is going to be your frenemy. It's going to be your best friend, but you're going to hate to use it. It is your seam ripper. This tool will save your project. It is a pain in the butt to have to use it because you know that you've made a mistake. But think of it in a positive light. Think of it as something that you get to redeem your project. You have some stitching that's a bit crooked and you just pick it out. I'll show you in another video how to use this. Next up are your scissors. Now, why do I have two pairs of scissors? Because you should have a pair of paper scissors and a pair of fabric scissors. Do not mix these. These are, I don't know what brand these are, but I got them from Joann's and they're very, very good. They're very sharp and they cut paper very, very well for me. These are my precious, wonderful Ginger scissors. I got these from Joann's on a 40% off coupon as well. These have a wonderful weight to me and they're very good for slicing through fabric. I love that first slice cutting through fabric. But again, have a pair of paper scissors. You don't need to go expensive for these either. Just any pair of good quality, but not necessarily expensive. Scissors will do you just fine. I would go ahead and invest a little bit, not too much. These are like $24, I think, and but they were on sale. These scissors will last you a lifetime. Definitely worth it because you don't want a pair of fabric scissors that will snag your fabric. All right, next up is thread. I have a collection of thread and it's really based on my projects. I know some people like to stock up most commonly used thread, and especially if there's a sale going on, why not? But As a beginner, I would suggest that you buy your thread on an as needed basis. But if you know that you tend to buy the same color family, then go ahead and get a few spools. Definitely have black and white on hand. Those are the most common colors. You'd hate to be in the middle of a project and run out of thread. That just would kill your sewing mojo. This handy little doodad is called a seam gauge. This helps you when you're hemming. Now, I actually got this one in one of those beginner sewing kits that I got, and I was just like, eh. And I actually think, I might be lying, but I think I got the seam ripper in that kit as well. But this is a very handy seam gauge, and you move it along based on how big or how narrow, how wide or how narrow you want your seams to be. Mine usually sticks at about 5/8 of an inch because that's, or 1 inch, because that's usually how much I hem. But you simply just fold your fabric over and you're able to accurately measure your hemming. Speaking of measuring, you're also going to need a straight edge ruler. This is a see-through ruler by Dritz. I got this at Joann's as well. I got a lot of my supplies at Joann's. And no, Joann's is not sponsoring me. It's just close and convenient. This actually, you need a straight edge ruler. It doesn't need to be huge, but you do need something that you'll be able to line up straight edges with. You will need a flexible measuring tape to measure yourself, and then you're probably going to be using a combination of this and your straight edge ruler to make your pattern adjustments. And you're thinking, why do I need a ruler? I'm just going to sew. Well, the key to sewing, I mean, if you're going to put all of this love and labor and attention into picking out fabrics and everything and customizing your wardrobe, you want to make sure it fits properly. So you're definitely going to need some measuring tools to make sure you get the perfect fit. I also recommend a yardstick. They're really cheap, just a couple of bucks. These are great when drawing out or measuring long distances, especially for skirts. Okay. You're going to need some pins and a pin holder. This is a magnetic pin holder, and I just have my pins on here, and it's really convenient because if I drop a pin, I just rub this over the carpet or over the table and it just picks it right up. But you're definitely going to need some pins to hold your fabric together. Next on my list are marking pins or marking tools. I like to use this double-sided pen by Dritz. One end is a water-soluble ink that all you have to do is just put a damp rag to it and it'll dissolve. And the other side is disappearing ink. These are great. This is a great tool to transfer markings on your pattern. Another option are chalk rollers. I have these in multiple colors. The ones I have are pink, white, blue, and yellow. And it's beneficial to have light and darker colors because you want to make sure that you can see the markings. Like this is a dark purple and it's disappearing ink, which is good, but if I have a dark color fabric, then I'm not going to be able to see it, and I need to be able to see these markings. So in that case, I would probably use this chalk roller in a lighter color. You're going to need needles as well. These are hand needles, and these are sewing machine needles. Your sewing machine does come with needles, but you tend to run through those pretty quickly because they don't last you forever. I think it's about 9 hours worth of sewing that you need to replace your needles. Personally, I just stocked up on my needles. I have a big bag full of sewing machine needles because I stocked up on Black Friday sale of this past winter. And every other project, I just go ahead and switch out my needles. Okay, you're going to need fabric. This is just a cheap muslin that I used for testing purposes when I'm testing my fit on a pattern that I've never used before. And this is a woven, so it does not stretch. But you are going to need fabric, and we'll talk more about fabric in a later. Last but not least, and actually this is very important, so please don't think just because it's last that it's not important. You need an iron. You need a good iron. And when I say good, I don't mean expensive. This iron cost me about 30 bucks or something. This is a Black & Decker iron that I got from Target. You don't need a $200 iron. If you want to, that's cool, because low-key, I kind of want one as well. But this iron does me just fine. I really don't need to spend the money on a more expensive iron. You want something with a good, strong steam burst, because that's what you're going to be using to press open your seam. It's also a bonus. I don't have one, but it's on my to-do list. It's on my to-buy list, is an iron shoe. It helps to protect your fabric because I have scorched some fabric, unfortunately. You know, when you have your iron on a bit too high and it leaves that imprint on your fabric. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So make sure when you're ironing, you have either, oh, actually, you don't need an iron shoe. You can use just a cotton fabric like this muslin as a pressing cloth. You'll hear that being referred to. It's not anything special. It's just a type of fabric that still allows the steam to get through, but it protects your iron from the fabric and it protects your fabric from the iron. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video with me showing you all the tools that will definitely come in handy for your beginning sewing journey. Again, don't be intimidated. Don't think you need to pour a lot of money into these things. You don't need all of these at the same time, but it definitely helps to have them on hand. Anything that I've mentioned that's optional in this video, don't feel obligated to get it up front. But if you keep loving sewing the way that I do, you're going to eventually need it. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.